Welcome to another GCN Tech home maintenance video. Today we're going to show you how to remove and replace your front derailleur. Now you're only going to need a few basic tools again. You're going to need a 4mm Allen key, a 5mm Allen key, a 2mm, and you're going to need the relevant tools to remove your chain, such as the chain tool or chain pliers. You're also going to need a set of normal pliers to remove the cable end here. Our first job is going to be to shift into the small chain ring, and that'll put the mech in the position ready for us to remove the cable end here, and also use our 4mm Allen key to remove the cable from the front derailleur. First off, we're going to need to get our pliers, remove the cable end like so, give it a pull like that, pop that to the side. Now that we've got the cable end removed, we can look to remove this plastic cap here and guide it off of the cable. So lift that up like so, and then guide that off of the cable. Set that to the side nice and safe. From here, we can pull the cable out like this, ready to use our 4mm Allen key like so to undo the cable tension. Now we've got to this point, we can remove the cable from there and tuck that to the side out of the way, ready to be used later on. Now that we've got the cable removed and out of the way, we can look to now take the chain off, get that tucked out of the way nice and safe, and then that will be the last step of removing the actual derailleur from the bike. Using our quick link pliers, we can slide those in here. If you're fortunate enough to have a quick link, squeeze them together like so, and that will enable us to break the chain. Now that we've got the quick links removed, we can carefully remove the chain from the bike, making sure we try our best not to drag the chain up against the frame, like so. Guide it around the rear cassette and through the rear derailleur. Now we've got the chain off, we can set that to the side on the workbench. The cable is no longer attached, so that's free. We can now use the 5mm Allen key to go in at the front here and loosen the main bolt that holds the derailleur to the frame. Be a little bit tight, like so. Then we can use the other end of the Allen key, holding the derailleur to the frame, and then remove this bolt, like so, making sure not to lose this curved washer. Now that we've got the front derailleur removed, it's a case of looking to refit it back, again using the small bolt here with the curved washer attached. We can take the front derailleur, guide it into this frame here, and then put the bolt back in as so. Now that we've got the derailleur loosely fitted to the bike, it's a case of correctly setting the height and making sure the cage is in line with the chain rings. Now this type is a braze-on type, which uses a bracket that's attached to the frame, and the other type you might have is a clamp type, which uses a clamp attached to the derailleur which goes all the way around the tube of the frame. They're not quite so common anymore, but they're still out there. So here's where we can use our 2mm Allen key to go through the centre of the derailleur onto that support bolt, and here we can align the derailleur cage with the chain rings before we set the height correctly. So we turn it in, check it's lined up nicely, like so, and that can stay there until we set the height using the 5mm Allen key. So using our 5mm Allen key, we can go in, look to set the height of the derailleur to make sure it clears the chain rings, hoping for about a 1 to 2mm gap for nice smooth shifting. Now we've got the derailleur correctly attached to the frame, the height set correctly, the support bolt at the back has been set correctly to ensure the cage is parallel with the chain rings. We can now go ahead and look to refit the cable back to the derailleur. So to refit the cable, it's a case of guiding it through the back of the derailleur, and then here lining it up through, carefully guiding it underneath the pinch bolt cover. So now that we've got a bit of tension onto the cable, we can use the 4mm Allen key to tighten that up nice and secure. Now the cable's attached, we can look to refit the chain, and that'll move us on to one of the final steps of setting the high and low limit screws. To refit the chain, we can just guide it through the frame carefully here, across, towards the chain rings like so. Carefully pedal that round. Once that's there, we can now move the chain round the cassette, guide it all the way round, onto the pulley wheels, and then through the pulley wheels, down the rear derailleur, bringing that all the way round can use our quick links here to refit the chain back together. I'm using the pliers. Like so. Now that we've got the chain refitted correctly, we're going to look to set the low limit screw on the front derailleur first. To do that, we're going to need to shift all the way into the largest sprocket on the back, and that'll enable us to look to set this correctly at the front. Now that we've got the bike and the largest sprocket at the back here, and in the smallest chainring at the front, now we can use our 2mm Allen key to look to go in and set this small screw here, labelled with the L. Now what we're trying to achieve is carefully adjust this so that the inside edge of the derailleur cage just misses the chain when it's pedalling. So we can check that, pedal that. So you can see there, about as close as we can get it without causing it to rub. Now that we've got the low limit screw set, we're going to have to shift into the big chainring and all the way down into the smallest sprocket on the cassette. That will enable us to set the high limit screw correctly using our 2mm Allen key. Now that we've shifted into the smallest sprocket on the cassette and the largest chainring on the front, we can use our 2mm Allen key to look to set the high limit screw. Similar to when we were setting the low limit screw, we're making sure the derailleur cage is nice and close, but not touching the chain on the outside edge here. So now that we've got the high limit screw set, we can check that there's a nice small gap between the chain and the outside edge of the derailleur cage here. Close, but not touching. Now we've got the high and low limit screws set, we can now check to see if the front derailleur operates correctly and add any cable tension if we need to using our 2mm Allen key on this small little bolt here, turning it to add or remove tension to the cable. Now that we've got the cable tension set correctly, we can look to tidy the cable up, guide it all the way around, refit our small plastic cover from earlier, and then make sure we've got a nice tidy setup. So there you have it, the front derailleur replaced and set up. It's worth just running through the gears to make sure they work correctly. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, let us know in the comments section below, and most importantly, give us a thumbs up.